Uganda. Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odong Top was brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we love, because it's those things that bring us close together.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
Until now, we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
COVID-19, chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Therefore, understanding this model. Hey, excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Coming soon on UBC.
marriage has 100% chances of succeeding. You know why? Because God created marriage, and God never creates failure, and God never designs anything to fail. Every marriage has 100% chances of succeeding. Is your marriage struggling and you're wondering whether it will ever succeed, whether you will ever make it, whether it's even worth holding on to? You got to tune into Unlocking Marital Bliss, because right here we provide the keys to unlock the bliss in your marriage, and you will be able to succeed. We've had testimonies, and lives are changing day by day.
Marriage must be a discipline. It must not be handled like a casual thing.
As women, when we have the outward expression, even our form of respect is tied to the outward things that you do.
Some women now have working class. They don't know how to handle their husbands because the marriage has become like question and answer marriage. Do you have any tea? Don't you have hands to prepare it? Why have you come back late? Did I take your blanket? It's question and answer marriage.
Not any other place, but every Sunday, 3 p.m., right here at UBC, with the one and only Cyrus Rod, not any other.
Unlocking Marital Bliss. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Morning Uganda Extra. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Morning Uganda Extra.
Therefore, understanding
Excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Morning Uganda Extra.
Well, good morning. My name is Jagan Semakala Ziksoka. Welcome to UBC TV. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra today. Another very lovely day. Now, remember, COVID is still with us, just like Ruben Impi Machirago told you here. Let's put on our face masks. Let's sanitize. Let's wash our hands. Let's try to social distance. And, of course, let's do anything possible to ensure that we observe the SOPs for all of us who want to be alive tomorrow. We thank you, Lord, for this day. Scriptures are very clear that this is the day that the Lord God has given to us, and the day in which we shall be glad and rejoice in. And of course, it is where we are today. My name is Jagenda Semakola Zekosoka. I want to welcome you to our discussion this morning, where we'll talk about the Day of the African Child. It is 16th of June, and this day is the Day of the African Child. And with me in studios are two guests. One of them is Mr. Okabachi Brian. He's the She Leads Project Coordinator under Yadnet Uganda. You're very welcome, Mr. Okabachi.
Thank you, Jagenda. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. I'm happy to have you here. And of course, together with Mr. Okabachi is Kateme Immaculate, a girl child champion, also in the She Leads Project. You're very welcome, Immaculate.
Thank you, sir.
You're good. Well, I'll start with you, Mr. Okabachi. We'll talk about the Day of the African Child. Let's put sense to it, starting with that.
Oh, thank you, Jagenda. Yeah, the Day of the African Child was put aside by the Organization of African Unity, which is now the African Union, to commemorate the children that died in Soweto 30 years ago in the Soweto uprising. What brought that? The children were facing a lot of challenges. lot of challenges in school and in the community. But when they try to advocate for their rights, when they try to advocate for change of systems or change of structures, the things were not moving. So as children, they thought that going to an extreme end of rioting was the best solution to express their opinions, express their challenges. So in the sort of uprising, we saw that when they came out to advocate for their rights, over 200 children were killed on that day, and over 4,000 children were injured on that day, plus other people were injured on that day. So the African Union thought it wise to put that day aside, just to commemorate the day, the children who died, and also to bring sense to the rights of children, the marginalized children. For example, if I bring back to Uganda here, the street children, the girls, vulnerable children, you find that children are always at the receiving end of all the negative impacts of crime, of discrimination, of each and everything. They're always on the receiving end of negativity. So today, Uganda joins the rest of the world in commemorating the 30 days of the third decade of the African child, and also advocating and calling to action on decision bearers, policymakers, decision makers and policymakers, that they should create a Uganda or an Africa that is fit for children. So that is the sense on the African child. So even as today, as the She Leads Consortium, we are joining the world, we are joining Africa to also advocate for the same, to see that there is an enabling environment, creating an environment that is safe for a girl child to live in, that is safe for a boy child to live in. So it is to that background that we are here.
Very good. Just before I come to Immaculate here, I'll still get to you. You talked about the She Leads Consortium, but you also talked about YADNET. So what are these, first and foremost, before even getting to the issues of the African child?
YADNET Uganda is a youth-focused organization that works on three thematic areas: youth and economic empowerment, youth and sexual reproductive health, and youth and climate change. Because we believe it is the youth who can change those, because we want a better tomorrow. And it is a network organization of over 42 organizations all over the country, operating all over the country. And speaking on the She Leads project, why we are here. She Leads is a gender transformative consortium or project that is funded by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Netherlands. So through Plan International, where we receive our funds, we get support from through Plan International to have the project implemented. By the She Leads is at national level is being implemented by three partners. That is Plan International, TDH, that is Ceres the Homes, and Femnet. Under those that we have other implementing partners where we belong. So She Leads is a consortium of organizations that are working towards the empowerment of the girl child, to see that their opinions, there is increased acceptance of girls' voices, of girls' opinions on the decision making. For example, right now we talk about affirmative action, but how realistic is it? And how effective is it? So other than just cosmetic, this project is looking forward to bringing the girl child on the table of decision making, of effective participation, not just having the customers here on table, but are their issues being listened to? Are their issues being understood? That is the purpose of the project. So under that, we have a number of partners that I'll mention just a few, like Gallup Initiative Uganda, the YADNET, among others. There are over 7 organizations, and the project is being implemented in 7 districts in Uganda. But especially for YADNET, we are implementing it in Kampala, Kamuli, and Buyende. And when I talk about Kamuli and Buyende, you know the plight of the girl child that side. So basically, that is what She Leads is all about, is bringing a girl child on the level of the agenda, that she can also speak and being listened to as the agenda, that when her opinion is, when there's a consultation, her opinions are considered. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Immaculate, thank you. Come to this conversation. You are a girl child champion and also a volunteer, I think, in the things. Now we talk about the Day of the African Child, and you are one of those there. How do you first of all understand it yourself? How do you understand it, and what would be your message as Immaculate to the rest of the world, the rest of the children out there, and the other persons in Uganda?
Thank you very much. I'm Immaculate once again. The Day of the African Child, I see it as a day we are remembering the Soweto uprising. The reason why those people came up, it's because they were facing a lot of challenges and they were not listened to. So the only solution was to raise up. The reason why we remember it, it's like we are trying to bring out the very challenges which happened those days, and they are the very challenges we are facing right now. In Uganda, we can look at the K zones. Remember, in our organizations, we term the K zones are those zones which are in slummy areas. They project the Soweto of South Africa.
What is
for
K
example?
What's K in this case?
Yeah, the K zones are those slummy zones, the slummy cities. For example, Kamocha, Katwe, we have Chitintale, Kasoko. So there are most of those poor cities are termed with K. Katanga, as you said, we have, which you can bring out those K zones by yourself. Because if you are to look at the KKK, you can easily draft the slummy areas in the K issue. You get it? So we are trying to bring out those challenges. The girls, mostly the girls and the children facing. For example, the K children are the ones offering child labor. Those ones in the K zones are the ones being victims of teenage pregnancies. Those ones in the K zones are the ones on the streets. You get it? So in this thing, we're trying to bring out those challenges, those children and girls in slummy areas, the challenges they are facing. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you understand this day or on such a day today? What would be your message to maybe the country, the politicians, religious leaders, the cultural leaders, the other stakeholders, the business community, the journalists like ourselves, and quite a number, because do you think everybody understands this day? Talking about the Day of the African Child, one of my colleagues in studios here asked the question that who qualifies to be one of the African children? Somebody asked, actually asked the question, am I also one of Africa's child or something else?
Okay, thank you. And concerning to COVID-19, yes, concerning to COVID-19, we are bringing out a child who is in this situation of COVID-19. We are bringing out those children who are challenged in this. Okay, we are relating this day to the COVID-19 situation. We say that we are trying to broadcast the challenges they are facing. For example, in different cities in Uganda, there are very many challenges faced by those children in the slummy areas. So what we are trying to bring out, if the government was able to come out with a task force to give out food, a task force to display masks, to give out masks, let there be a task force for a child, a task force led by a child or a girl representative to monitor what these African children, what these Ugandans, the children in Uganda, what they are facing during this COVID-19 thing. It's what we are trying to bring out. We want to bring out the challenges. Because previously, last week, we had the documentary still about the African child. We had different documentaries on different televisions. And we're bringing out the challenges which these children are facing back there. And we are calling upon the government to put up a task force to monitor what they are going through. We are calling upon different CBOs, we are calling upon different non-government organizations to help us monitor. Are these children really represented in the government processes? Are they really represented in the budget? Are they really represented in decision making, or they are just making decisions for us? Because you may find that a budget was passed about 3 children, a budget was passed about girls, but none of the girls, none of the child was on the board. It was just passed on. You get it? So we are just calling upon the government to give us a platform as girls, to give us a platform as children, so that we air out our views. We give in our challenges, not other people to find our challenges before us bringing out the challenges we are facing.
Okay, Mr. Okabachi, do you think the government really looks into the issues of the children in this country, or government is ignorant about what is happening to the children or with the children, that government is not concerned about what happens to the children. Did you look at government being anywhere in issues of the children? Because when we address or when we talk about children of, when we talk about child issues, we tend to maybe even want to have a child in parliament represent the children. Also, we think maybe we'll have a child representing all the children in this country or whatever that may be. Do you look at the government as being there to address these issues, or the government is totally disjointed and disconnected from issues of the child in this country?
Okay, thank you. One, government has tried. It's not totally off. There are a number of interventions that have come up to protect the girl child, very many. It has gone even an extra step of creating a ministry for children. That is, previously it was Minister Nachwala Chiyindi. And she has come up with a number of issues, a number of strategies to safeguard the children, though some of them are controversial. That I personally agree with some and I don't agree with some. So there's the Ministry of Children and Youth and Children's Affairs. Government has done, and there are a number of strategies that have come that they have put in place to safeguard the child, to create an enabling environment. But the concern we are having, how effective are they? For example, recently, in the previous year, in the previous government, that ministry secured some money from government just for the street children. But my question is, what was the impact of the money? I don't remember the exact figure of head, so I don't want to state it. But what was the impact of that money? What has been the impact so far? If government could look through the number of strategies, the number of approaches they have put in place to safeguard the children, to support the children, to create an enabling environment for children, to create a fit Africa, a fit Uganda for children to live in, back in the last 5 years, then if they can give us at least a result of what has come up from the interventions they have done, then there we shall be very happy. But to my disappointment, or to your disappointment, you'll find that a lot of money is being released, a lot of resources are being released, but the impact is very small. It's to this that civil society organizations like us are coming up to support on government. It's not that they are not doing, government not doing anything, but we are coming out to support on it. So it's to this that my colleagues say, calling upon government, if it is laws, let them bring on board laws and make them effective, other than just bring cosmetic laws and opportunities or platforms for the Bryans, the agendas to eat money, but rather release resources, release strategies that are going to safeguard, that are going to create a peaceful and a fit Uganda for children to live in. For example, the children who are, I'll cite some of the children living on the streets, because even you today when you walk out, you get a minimum of over 10 in less than 1 hour. What are those children doing there? We all know that everyone has an office. Even a child has an office where he or she has to work, and that is the class. Unlike right now that we have a school lockdown, but those children are supposed to be studying. But even before the COVID-19 pandemic, children were in the streets. Not only the streets, but going in the slums. Jagenda, we always think that teenage pregnancy, child marriages, and child sexual exploitation is in the rural. Go to Kampala.
Okay, Mr. Kabachi.
Yes.
Let's understand this, because when we talk about the child, we also mix it with the youth, in a way.
Yes.
Who is a child to start with?
A child is anyone below the age of 18 years.
Anyone below the age of 18. Do you know how many we have in this country?
Children? I don't have the exact figures of head, but when you bring around the exact figures, I don't have them off head, but you find that children and the youth constitute over 70% of the general population. So imagine how volatile or vulnerable that the population is. Us, me and you, who are over 30 and above, are the minority. But now the majority who are there, instead of them being empowered more, they are not. So if at all me and you go together, that is, meaning us and government go together, sit on a drawing table and say, what can be done for the child or the Ugandan child?
That's one. I don't want to talk about the youth because I know who the youth are, and we have very prosperous youth at times in this country because we talk about, according to the constitution, the youth are 18 to 30, and now we even have, I think, even managers at 30 and all these things. I am concentrating on the child because today we're discussing the Day of the African Child, and I just want to put sense to it. First and foremost is you from the civil society organizations tend to portray an image about government that really government is not doing enough. Government seems not to be concerned about all these issues. But you see, government is apparent first and foremost for all of us. The rest of us just supplement or complement what they do. But just what you're saying is they put up laws, you called it, you even call them cosmetic laws and all these things. I just want to know from you, do you have any suggestions specifically that you've put to government and maybe said, we are an expert civil society organization or non-government organization, and these are some of the issues that we find in the communities that we think are not incorporated in the laws that you have, the Children's Act, the different children's strategies that we have in the country, there's what they call the ECD, the Early Childhood Development Program, which I think was launched in 2018. And many of these, I've not heard you come out to actually maybe say that, yes, government passed this policy. Recently, there was another one that was causing a lot of contentions amongst the sexuality, the national sexuality strategy of I think 2017 education framework of I think 2017 or 2018. That also caused a lot of issues at the sexuality framework. And quite a number of these, I've not had, because I'm only thinking, does government pass these things without consultations or maybe coming to you? Does even government know that there are organizations out there who are possibly working in the communities, in the villages, in the slums, and they know what is affecting the people that we bring to the table and incorporate them in our legislation?
Thank you. Government, as I started previously, I said government has come up with a number of strategies. It has done
which you've called cosmetic. Meaning
the reason that's why I call them personal, that is a personal opinion. The reason that's why I call them that, I do it with the intention of angering some people so that they make them more effective. My issue is on the effectiveness of these policies. For example, the early childhood, the ECD. It is a good document. It's a good document, honestly. One person, I have a Rwandan friend of mine who said, for us, we come to you, benchmark and come and implement. So for us, we think on their behalf and they go and implement, which is a disappointment. So they are very good policies, they are very good strategies, but the implementation, how making them effective. For example, the sexuality education framework. When you read the document, it is very thorough. But the concern is on the implementation. What is it going to serve? Is it serving the intended purpose of its formulation? That is the concern. Honestly, Jagenda, we have very good laws. We have very perfect laws. Some of them need just a simple modeling. But the effectiveness in the implementation is the concern. That's the reason the African child is suffering. Because, for example, right now, education is free. We all know that. For primary, secondary, and even to some extent university. But how many people are dropping out of school? How many girls are dropping out of school? Go to the end and see how many children are getting pregnant just because they are idle, they are dormant. And why are dormant? I'm not studying. Why? Because of just petty reasons. I don't have basic scholarship material.
Somebody will ask a question that if these problems stopped one day, if we don't witness any more child pregnancies or early marriages or school dropouts, if all these things stopped in an instant, would you now have any work to do in this country?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you as NGOs have any work to do? Because I think the dropouts in schools are business for you.
Government is a father, like you said. And you, the child, is supposed to say, Dad, you've done this, but if we did this, it would be better. Our work is to check and support government on where we feel it's not doing right. Even if all these atrocities are ended today, at least they would now look at, for us, we believe that if government adopts or accepts recommendations from civil society, it becomes now an area of monitoring and evaluation. If it does not, it becomes an area of advocacy. So if all these vices ended today, we will now begin looking at now how effective how effective are the approaches, and also what's the impact. Yes, we have all studied. Recently, we were talking about doctors, that we have very many doctors, and the president was saying that we should have doctors up to the sub-county level. So now we begin looking at other areas where we think those who are educated, how they get benefiting out of their education. So we believe always civil society we shall have time, because for us we check. We are watchdogs, though sometimes we are taken to be on the negative side, but we support government, because Baganda have a saying that a fly that loves his down that falls on your wound. At least at any point there will be a point of correction, or somewhere that something that you need to adjust. So that is the purpose of it. That's the work of the civil society is doing. What we want is to see reduced levels of teenage pregnancy, reduced levels of child marriages, a few years ago, we were bragging that we have the youngest grandmother in the world in Butaleja.
No, we're not bragging. It's the reality.
It is true, but that is not something
we don't have to brag about it. But
that is something that
she's actually the second youngest. The second youngest in the world.
So having such, is that the record that you want? Is that the Uganda that you want? We want a better Uganda. So at every point, we want to see that the Ugandan child lives in a peaceful and in an enabling environment, so that they can go and study. That me, Brian, does not come and confuse one immaculate somewhere because just because she's not going to school because the dad is not supporting with a pen or a book. So me riding my border, I come and present a chapati, a Rolex, and she sees a bright future.
Okay.
But you want to see an empowered generation, an empowered child who knows when to say yes, when to say no, and if no or yes, what are the consequences?
Okay.
That is what we want to see.
Just before you take a break and invite another person to this conversation, I will invite a primary school going girl here, my daughter. She will join us to talk to us a little later. But let me come to Immaculate here, just before I go for the break. Immaculate, you do believe that government has actually tried to empower the girl child in this country to the level that is actually worrying the boy child. That we think we're even actually giving it an imbalance. That a time will come when Immaculate is so empowered that some young Emma somewhere cannot actually even marry a very empowered Immaculate. And we have it. We've been discussing. You saw the president release to us a cabinet a few days ago, and when you look into the cabinet, you'll see that we have quite a number of women in there and in key service positions or ministries. Go elsewhere in the civil service. Go elsewhere in there are quite a number of women who are actually doing great and doing good things. Do we still condemn the government or think that the government has not done enough in empowering the girl child? And until when is this empowerment supposed to carry on? I am personally a girl child empowerer. I am a natural feminist. I am not an activist feminist. I am just born a feminist. But when you look at all these, don't you think that government has really done enough? And until when shall we continue with issues of we need to empower the girl child, won't we do this until Jesus returns?
As you've said, the government is like a parent. Yeah? So it's not that we are blaming the government, but everything which happens on the ground, like we are the subjects, we are the children. Everything which happens on the ground, we have to report to the government. Everything we should involve the government. Since the government is the parent, we are supposed to involve the government in everything. As you say, they have created a number of opportunities for we girls. But why we are calling upon the government, we want the government to at least put a task force, or at least put responsibilities to different organizations responsible for we the girls and the children to bring out reports. Because you may say, fine, at a certain board there is a girl seated, but are you aware that girl might be on that board, but the girl is not performing?
Because she's not empowered or something?
No, she may be empowered, but at certain decision making, we are left behind. Fine, I may be there as a picture, a model, like I'm the girl champion, but in any decision making, I'm left behind. I'm just brought in to make action, but the decision making was made by the board or the heads. Are you getting? So So that, like what we are calling upon the government to make sure reports are brought out showing exactly that did these children really perform? Did they take part?
Okay.
Yeah, we are calling upon a report to reveal that exactly why, exactly the girls took part, exactly the girls are doing this, they are doing this, not being partially or not being passive actors. Because most cases we are passive actors, but we are not active actors in the implementation or the, let me say, the decision making. So we really want to be the active
participants.
Yeah, active participants.
Okay. Well, thank you. We'll talk about the day of the African Child, and we'll take a break. And when we return, we'll have Angelica Businje, a student, a pupil from Kampala Parent School. She will also join us and talk to us about this day of the African Child, how she understands it, what her thoughts are, and what she thinks she can communicate to the stakeholders out there. We'll take a break and return.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Morning Uganda Extra.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we learn, because it's those things that bring us close together.
Therefore, understanding this model. Excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial star 175 hash or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Morning Uganda Extra.
Thank you so much, and welcome. We continue the discussion, and of course joining us in studios this morning is Angelica Businje, a 12-year-old Kampala Parents School going pupil. Joining us here to talk about the Day of the African Child. You're very welcome. Are you Angelica?
Angelica.
Angelica, will you speak a little louder? You are Angelica. Well, I'm happy to have you.
Thank you.
Have you been on TV before?
No.
No. It's your first time?
Yes.
Okay. How do you feel?
I feel kind of shy.
You feel kind of shy. Wow. Is mommy and daddy watching?
I think.
You think? You told them you're coming to TV?
They're the ones who told me I'm coming.
They're the ones who told you. Do you know why you're here? Oh no, you must be knowing. We talk about the Day of the African Child. Isn't that so? What do you know about it?
I don't really understand.
Wanji? You don't know. What challenges do you have as a child that you would want them to address and talk about? Any challenges that you have as a child that you think maybe the government is not doing right, or the leaders, or the teachers in school? Don't you have challenges in them? You do. What challenges?
Like, let's say a child can have a dad, the dad can have a wife, then has another wife, then the child can go, like the dad can get another wife, then the child can go and live with a stepmother, and then the stepmother can start mistreating the child. So the child, they always make the child do the work. She doesn't usually help.
like to fetch many jerrycans of water that she can't manage at a young age.
So if you had, have you met the president of Uganda? No. Have you met any minister? No. Do you know the Minister of Education? Yes, who is she? Or he? You only know the Janet name. Okay, she's the Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni. She's the First Lady. If you met her, if you had an opportunity to meet Mama Janet Kataha, what would you tell her as a child, as a girl child, and the problems that you face? If you met Mama Janet Kataha, what would you tell her your problems or your challenges as a child are?
I would tell her that, like, girls growing up with their fathers should be girls growing up with their fathers should be with, like, aunties to take care of them when they're with their fathers, to look out for them, because you never know what will happen.
Okay, so you discourage girls growing with their fathers, and you support that if a girl is to grow with her father, that's if the mother is not there. Yes. Because ideally, it's supposed to be daddy and mommy taking care of the child or children.
Yes.
So you think that if maybe daddy misbehaves and marries another woman and chases away, or daddy stays alone, divorces or separates with the mother, you would rather that as opposed to staying with daddy alone, you need an auntie somewhere. Okay, so you find that is that all that you tell the First Lady, the Minister of Education?
Yes.
Okay. Any other challenges that you find? We hear of children getting into child labor, asking them to do very hard things. They get into drugs at a very young age.
I would like to advise young girls under the age of 18 to stay in school and not, like, go in bad groups, peer groups, not to join in peer groups.
Under the age of 18, to stay in good groups. Did you personally stay in a good group in school?
I'm not in a group.
You're not in a group? Oh, how do you manage being in school and you're not even with anybody? How do you manage?
Yeah, I just have one friend.
You just have one friend?
Yes.
A girl?
Yes.
Okay. And you trust her? Do you believe in her? Did you take the advice that she gives you? Does she take the advice that you give her? Do you talk to one another? Do you trust each other's advice as young children?
Yes.
Why do you think so?
Because she has been my friend. She has always stood up for me, and she's not always giving me discourages.
Okay.
You know what I tell her?
Okay, away from the problems in the house, in the home, where there's maybe daddy and there's no mommy, and so you need an aunt there. How about in schools? How do you manage in schools as girl children? You are in a school, you wake up this morning now. It's unfortunate that we are not going to school now because of COVID-19, but I'm looking at those days when we used to go back to school or when we used to stay in schools. What are the challenges you find in school? Because I'm sure that the problems that you face in the house at home are not the same problems that you also find in schools. Is that so? So what about the problems in school? What would you tell the Minister of Education, for example, in as far as problems in school are concerned?
I only have something to tell the girls.
Sorry?
I only have something to tell the girls.
You only have something to tell the girls. Please talk to the girls.
The girls should stay away from male teachers, not always getting so close to them.
Okay.
Just being, like, they do other activities apart from going with the male teachers. You can go and talk to the male teacher, but not so close to them.
Okay, have you noticed that happen in your school, for example?
No.
You don't,
yes.
But you think it happened somewhere?
Yes.
Okay, what about if, okay, you're saying they should stay away from the male teachers. How about an instant where you only have male teachers? The teacher of English is a Mr. Semakola, the teacher of SST is a Mr. Jagenda, the teacher of science is a Mr. Zipsoka. How should they behave, and what needs to be done? Because we know that there could be those children in there who are slow learners and they would love to engage their male teachers more often. What would you talk to them about?
The girls or the teachers?
Both of them.
Both of them. As for the teachers, all the teachers should do is to go and teach, and then the girls should, like, they shouldn't be overcoming. They're asking a teacher a question. They should ask it, but not always be close to them every time, being with the teacher every time.
Okay. You think they shouldn't do the teachers all the time? Well, how old are you?
12.
You're 12. Which is your class?
I mean, P17.
Well, I don't know whether we are now sure of our classes. Are you sure? Because the systems have changed, so I even doubt whether we are sure of our classes. I don't know where we are in primary 7 or primary 6. I don't know. So you are, but you've not done your PLE. No, you're supposed to be doing PLE.
Last year was supposed to be in P6, but then
last year is supposed to be in P6. So in any case, you're now the next candidates. Okay, so the next step is P7 when we resume class, when we resume schools. Okay, Immaculate.
Yes, please.
There is a young Ugandan who's seeing here, and of course that's what she feels and talks about. You as a girl champion, a girl child champion. Yes, I'm sure these are the ones that you deal with, and what do you keep telling them?
Okay, to rely on her point, as she said, girls shouldn't get close to the teachers. Remember, as you said, you may find out that the school is full of male teachers, and she brought it clear that continue consulting, but avoid that too much closeness. Always consult, but don't be close to the teachers every time. Remember, you may get accused of this teacher, and this teacher is really interested in you. He will use that advantage to take over. So always consult, but don't tochisusa. In Uganda they say tochisusa. Don't be close to the teachers. Yeah. Then the other thing is, for the school dropouts or students being out of school, in most cases these girls stay out of school. Some of them may have different challenges like lack of menstrual kits, like the pads. What I was calling upon, as you said, you're over telling the government, but they are the parents, as you said. For me, what I can tell the government, at least if they can reduce on the taxes put on these pads, so that we girls who are very low, who are financially down, can access them at low prices. Then the other thing, that if these condoms, sorry to say this for the young ones, but if these condoms, the rubber bags, are put at a cheap or free cost, the government can still put this same issue or this free cost issue on the pads. They can still provide a certain type of pad.
But if government provides condoms free of charge, then it should be the same.
They can still do it to the pads. Remember, in most cases, they are saying these condoms are preventing sexually transmitted diseases. And remember, if a girl has a poor hygiene while in his menstrual period, while she's in her menstrual period, she can still get those infections. Remember, if a girl, because I go to interview a certain girl in Chitintale, I was telling her, why have you spent these days without going to school? She told me, I can't go to school because I use clothes for padding. How will I change my clothes and keep it so that I can wash it at home? So the only solution was for her to stay at home. But at least if possible, these pads can be put at a low cost. If not, they can still be provided at a free cost, since these condoms are also provided at a free cost.
Businje, would you also advise the young boys who are 12, 11, 10, 13 to also stay away from female teachers? Would you talk to them about that?
Yes.
You've advised the girls. Do you have a brother? No. Okay. Just assume you had a brother, or you have a brother somewhere, a cousin. What advice would you give to them? Now, I want you to talk to the young boys who are of your age and even younger than yourself. Give them advice.
What I would like to say, boys from my age, they shouldn't be going close to a female teacher, and they should stay away from a female teacher. Like, they can talk to the female teacher, but not in a different way, just in a normal way of studying. Like, they talk about education and about a question that they want to understand properly.
Okay, that's the message to the young boys, to the child boys out there. What advice would you now give to female teachers?
Female teachers?
Yes, generally.
As for female teachers, I would like them, not to, let's say the female teachers be teaching us, so they shouldn't be always standing on the side of boys. They should also be teaching the whole class. And when, like, let's say a teacher has gone to send a boy, she should stay in class and let the boy go and what he's going to do.
Okay. Okay, well, I thank you so much. Finally, from you, our time has run out. We have just less than 30 seconds.
I want to add another point.
In 30 seconds.
If the school heads can put up girl champion or boy champions to monitor the school, to monitor these teachers, and if the school heads can still put in strict laws to monitor every issue taking place in the school, it can still prevent those things of sexual harassment by teachers.
Okay.
Yeah, if strict laws are put in schools against sexual harassment.
Okay. Well, I want to thank all of you. Thank you so much, Immaculate Kateme, the Girl Child Champion. She leads a project and also a volunteer with the Yardnet. Thank you for being allowed to join us here. And thank you so much, young Angelica Businje, Impala Parents, people in primary 7. Thank you so much for your very young thoughts that we also had. I am sure that the leaders out there, the teachers out there, fellow girl children like yourself, I've actually heard you say that. I thank you so much and I commend you. And of course, also thanking Mr. Okabachi Brian, the She Leads Project Coordinator, for having been here. It's the day of the African child, and of course that's why it is. Like you've heard from the young persons here, it was deliberate that we bring them, speak to you, and know what they go through and what their thoughts are. Thank you so much. We'll stop it here and just promise you that, of course, at 10 tonight, Charles Odong Thom is coming on again with Behind the Headlines. Good morning and bye for today. Thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is the Morning Uganda